If you want to absolutely, positively see some sharks up real close, Stuart Cove's shark feeding dive in Nassau will definitely do it for you. So let's dive in, so to speak, here and take a closer look at what this experience actually entails. So this is sited at a spot that Stuart Cove calls their Shark Arena. It's a very flat sandy bottom with a sort of arena of large rocks laid out. It's at 37 feet depth. That's right about 11 meters. It's, as far as technical diving elements go, there's absolutely nothing to it. Literally, there's nothing to it. What you do is drop down to the bottom via an anchor line, and then the dive guides are going to call out people one at a time and assign them to rocks. And your job during this dive is to stay with your friendly assigned rock. Hold on to it, stay close to the bottom, don't wave appendages around, and then proceed to watch the show unfold. So the sharks that we are going to see here today are nurse sharks. You can see some of them already swimming around, and Caribbean reef sharks. We got onto our rocks, we brought our own GoPros to record what we were going to see, and we settled down to do some filming. And the feeding hasn't even started, and we've got some very interested nurse sharks in particular early on. These guys know exactly what's going to be going on here. They're very acclimated to this site, which I think is something that some people would have concerns about. These are wild animals, but they are very much being taught that when you hear boats and see divers in this area, there is food coming. Now, we never had any instances here, anything happen here that made us uncomfortable. It was extremely cool seeing these sharks right up close. Stuart Cove does this dive on an extremely regular basis. I think this is one of their most popular things that they offer. In fact, maybe a bit too popular. We'll talk about that more in a minute, but this was a quite crowded dive boat. We had a lot of divers here. Not really a safety issue because no one's getting lost because no one's going anywhere. You're just gonna sit here. So here we have one of our intrigued Caribbean reef sharks showing up to get in on the party. Anyway, once everybody has been assigned to their home rocks for the duration of the dive, they bring down basically a steel box full of fish bits. They have two divers who are going to run this whole show. They're both wearing some protective chainmail just to be safe. One of them is set up with a light and camera rig, and the idea here is you get to see the sharks up close, and Stuart Cove's dive guides get to take pictures of you with the sharks up close and then sell you that photography after the dive. And they take some really cool pictures. They've got good gear. They know exactly what they're doing. They're really good at it. But there's definitely that sort of secondary commercial aspect to the dive here. We didn't end up actually buying any of their photos because, well, frankly, we brought our own cameras and we're pretty happy with the shots that we got here on our own. But the way that the dive plays out, they're just starting to get set up here, is the guy in the center there is going to start feeding the sharks. He's got a pole, he's going to stab a piece of fish, just like that. Close the box up. He's trying to control this. This is not like a shark frenzy. There's food available, and one at a time, we're going to feed it to the sharks like that to keep them interested and to keep them circling so that you get to see them and so that they get to take photographs of you with the sharks. Now, they're going to go around the perimeter of this circle, doing the same thing with the photographer, taking pictures of each person in turn. And for everyone else, you just get to sit back and enjoy the show. There are sharks circling all around, obviously, as you can see. They're going to come over your back from outside of the arena into the center of the arena. Occasionally, people get bopped by fins. The nurse sharks tend to be nice and low down on the sand, as they normally do. That's nurse sharks stay at the bottom. The reef sharks are a little bit higher there. And they go around this whole circle, and they actually, in our dive at least, they went around the circle twice to give everyone two opportunities at getting some pictures. By the way, they're the nurse sharks discovering the backup food container and hovering around it like a couple of little puppy dogs trying to get into it. Anyway, this sort of segues into a few of our concerns about this dive. Obviously, one thing people are going to be concerned about is potentially the exploitation of the sharks, which frankly I don't see as a huge deal here. Yes, this is definitely training them to expect food in this area, to expect food from humans, but I don't see that being a huge issue, at least as it's currently being executed. The other issue we had was, frankly, this water was kind of cold. We were doing this in December. The water temperature was 75 degrees Fahrenheit, that's 24 Celsius. We were wearing 5 mil wetsuits, but we also weren't doing anything. We weren't moving. We had no way to keep warm. And both of us got pretty darn cold before the dive was over. Like, when they started into the second circle around, we kind of started thinking to ourselves, like, oof, really, we're going to do this all again? It's getting really cold. I don't know that I really want to stay down here that long. This is a really cool experience, but it's going to be a lot less cool if I get hypothermia, ironically. And so we took advantage of what the dive guides had told us before we jumped in, which was that if you feel uncomfortable, if you want to leave, you're always welcome to. It's signal dive guide, and the third guide will escort you up to the surface, which is exactly what we're doing here. We went back to the anchor line. You can see sharks still down at the... Actually, you can see the arena down there on the right-hand side. There's still lots of sharks circling around. We opted to come back up because we were cold, and I think... when we got to the surface, it turned out a lot of other people were cold. We had one girl on the dive who basically came up to the surface, blue and shivering, and took a while to warm herself back up on the boat. And I think a lot of people there's a social stigma to not be the first person, or not be the person, to deliberately leave. And we were willing to do that, and we had a better dive as a result. But I think the dive guides here probably should have been paying a little more attention to how their customers were doing, how the divers were doing here. These guys were clearly having an absolute ball with the sharks. They clearly love doing it, and they're good at it. When we got back onto the boat captain commented that this was not an abnormal affair, that they let people stay down on this dive way longer than they need to, and people got really uncomfortably cold by the end of it. So my critique here, my biggest critique here would definitely be that element of, I guess, call it customer service, but being aware of the condition of the divers during the dive. Certainly easy to stay focused on the sharks if you're the guys in the center, I'm sure. But I don't want that to totally take away from the idea, or from what we got out of this. It was absolutely amazing to be this up close to this many sharks. It was exciting. It was fun. For people who don't have an opportunity to ever really be around sharks, I think this is a really cool, opportunity. It's a way to do that in a safe environment. It's definitely not a natural way to see sharks. This is not how sharks normally behave, because they've been very specifically trained in what to expect here. So be aware, if you're looking for sharks in their natural habitat, this ain't gonna do it. This is definitely a more synthetic, formalized, and commercialized experience, opportunity, set up by Stuart Coves. But if it's the sort of thing you want to see, and it was for us, and we absolutely don't regret doing it, then definitely check it out. Stuart Coves is, at least when we were there, the only major, formal major dive tour shop on the island of New Providence. That is the city of Nassau in the Bahamas. So they're overcrowded most of the time, but they do have some really cool opportunities like this one.
That was really cool to see.